Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Game 2 of this Dreamhack Summer Series between Alliance and Dignitas. If you have not watched Game 1, please click on the bottom left-hand link below. That will direct you, of course, to Game 1, but if you have not watched it, then I don't know if you do want to watch it. It's not really the most exciting game. Alliance picked up a very staring lineup and, well, not really a staring lineup, but a very boring lineup. They picked up a line with Phantom Lancer and Lightstealer, and they just beat Dignitas in the late stages of the game where Dignitas, they weren't ready for the Phantom Lancer last pick, and their lineup reflected that. And they just tried to split push all game long, but that just really did not work up against Phantom Lancer. So hopefully we can see Dignitas adjust, otherwise Alliance will make it to their second consecutive Dreamhack Grand Finals. As Alliance, respecting Universe's Darkseer, gonna ban out the Darkseer. You know, Dignitas with the Stern Wisp opening, they're probably gonna ban out Barrier as well. And I expect Alliance to ban out Tree, because I'm pretty sure Alliance do not like playing against Tree, and Dignitas is one of those teams who does like to pick up Tree. And they themselves have first pick, and Alliance themselves don't like to pick Tree. So it's just a very weird circumstance of events, but we're gonna have to see how Alliance responds. With this game too, keep in mind they do have a 1-0 advantage, and they are playing in their home turf of Sweden, so I'm sure they're more comfortable with the environment. Meanwhile, Dignitas, a bit less experienced of a team, but since they made it to the semifinals, they've got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. But I'm sure they want to do a lot better, as Alliance going to ban out the Gyrocopter rather than banning out the Tree and Protector. So Dignitas likely going to ban out the Barrier here, and we're going to have to see how Alliance open up their choices.
10 seconds remaining.
But yeah, Dignitas taking a bit of time to decide what they want to do. They're going to get rid of the Barrier here. And Alliance, they're a team that's very versatile. They like to pick up a lot of strong heroes. They might go for an opening Admiral Bulldog hero pick, like something like a Nature's Prophet or a Lone Druid. Or they can pick up Leicester, which worked very well for them in the last game. Even with the Leicester open wounds nerf, Admiral Bulldog handled the Leicester in the jungle. And Alliance will pick up the Leicester. So Dignitas going to pick up, I've got to imagine, something like a Lone Druid choice, so they won't have Bulldog playing the Bear, and the Bear Lifesteal combination is so strong because it gets right into your face and just does so much damage very early on. Now, I'm sure Dignitas does not want to face Lifesteal as well as the Bear, even with the nerfs on those two heroes. And maybe Dignitas will go for something like a Bane Elemental to reduce the effectiveness of Lifestealer, but still, it's just very difficult to say what actually Dignitas can do. I mean, Lifestealer is still a very powerful laner for most traditional carries because of his magical immunity, and as long as he has a lane partner to help set up his open wounds, then he can still get in range to cast that spell, no matter how short the cast range has been nerfed to, although it is a lot harder than it previously was. So I'm thinking Dignitas will go for something like a Bane or a Tree and Protector here, and I'm not too sure which one they favor more than the other. I think they like Bane a bit more, but I don't know, I haven't seen Dignitas play a Bane in a long time. And this also has to sort of work into Dignitas lanes if Alliance go aggressive, which they probably won't. They probably will go into defensive once again, and they'll have Low to play the Leicester this time in a defensive trial, and then we're going to have to see if Dignitas can pick up a suitable carry, and I'm sure Dignitas are debating, what should we actually do with these heroes? They're going to pick up Lone Druid as well as Rubik, so I guess my predictions just completely flew out the window. I thought it would be either Tree or the Bane Elemental, but instead Dignitas is going to secure themselves the Lone Druid, going to get rid of that Admiral Bulldog Lone Druid factor, as well as getting themselves a pretty strong pushing hero. Lone Druid is still very powerful, even with the nerfs to Armlet, as well as the nerf to the gold bounty on the Bear. And Dignitas also picks up Rubik, so a very versatile support that does scale pretty well into all stages of the game, and also can sort of force Alliance away from some common picks, whether it be Magnus or other heroes of that nature, maybe something like a Quap or a Weaver. That could be a strong choice, but Alliance gonna get themselves a very standard Nature's Prophet second pick, recognizing that Dignitas would probably bat the Nature's Prophet in the second phase, because it is the second most powerful Admiral Bulldog's long lane heroes, and the Nature's Prophet Lifestealer Bomb is quite powerful in terms of ganking. So it's a bit disappointing for Dignitas that Alliance did manage to get at least one of their trademark heroes for Admiral Bulldog, but still, I mean, there's really not too much they could have done to avoid it, as both heroes were left in the pool, and Alliance picked around it, and they got themselves a very strong ganking core of Lifestealer as well as Nature's Prophet. Interesting enough, Dignitas came out the Storm Spirit. I'm not too sure if Alliance like to pick up Storm Spirit when Nature's Prophet has already been selected. I have to really check out the stats because I think they like using the Lifesteal and Fast Bomb with Nature's Prophet Teleport uh, more often than they like the Storm Spirit Bomb, but maybe they are a bit worried about Storm Spirit mobility, and Lone Druid can be ganked pretty easily if Storm Spirit and Lifesteal go out to gank him. A bit more easily than if Nature's Prophet can gank him, because Nature's Prophet himself does not provide that much DPS in the very early stages of the game. So, I mean, it makes sense, but I'm not too sure if Alliance would have picked up this hero. Alliance, what do they have to do? They have to pick up their supports, they also have to get their mid-hero, and their mid-heroes have been very versatile for the most part. And this time Dignitas do have the first choice up after the second ban phase ends, so they can probably leave a couple mid-heroes left in the pool. I mean, heroes like Puck, Queen of Pain, those stand mids are all going to be very, very likely for Dignitas, as they're going to get rid of Keeper of the Light. Alliance is making great usage of this hero, and I'm still a great hater of this hero. I still think he makes the game not very fun to watch, but he has definitely come back in style recently, especially thanks to Alliance, and his powers remain unrivaled in terms of defending pushes and even starting some pushes. And also, he is a very, very powerful laning hero. So Dignitas getting rid of one of Aki's trademark heroes definitely makes a lot of sense here, and we're going to see how Alliance responds, as Alliance, they need some supports, and right now a lot of supports are currently missing from the pool. They could potentially still get an Aki Chen, which can help amplify Nature's Prophet push, but Dignitas, they are one of the teams that still likes running a jungler for way too sexy, because they like having as much experience as possible for all of their heroes. So maybe Dignitas are leaving the junglers left in the pool so they can snag up Chen or Enchantress with their third choice. Meanwhile, Alliance taking their sweet old time thinking about what they want to actually do with this fourth ban, as it's rolling on through. They ban out the Nyx Assassin, so obviously they want to protect Nature's Prophet, and Nyx Assassin is one of the heroes that can give Nature's Prophet a bit of problems. Alliance going to bat the Treant Protector. I think Living Armor in conjunction with Bear would be very annoying, but I don't think Dignitas would have chosen Treant Protector since their lineup wouldn't be able to put out that much DPS, and Dignitas going to immediately transition to a Leshrac support choice, so they are going for a lot more pushing emphasis in their game. They know Lifesteal and Nature's Prophet are incredibly annoying to deal with in the late stages of the game. Nature's Prophet more especially than the Lifestealer, just because he can push all over the map. So I like this choice quite a bit by Dignitas. They're going to get some early map control on their side with the Leshrac pushing presence of Diabolic Edict, and of course the Lone Druid Spirit Bear can go in. The only problem with Dignitas' lineup I see at the moment is that they really like to run Lone Druid in the offlane with AUI handling the Lone Druid, but I have not seen AUI play the Lone Druid ever since the patch change, and I'm going to have to see if he can micro the bear well enough so that it doesn't die, as Alliance will pick up one of their trademark supports in the form of EGM's Windrunner, and EGM only plays Windrunner when Nature's Prophet is picked up for Alliance, as Dignitas going to get themselves a Juggernaut. So Dignitas is going to abandon their previous split pushing style, gonna go for pretty much all-out push with the Juggernaut healing ward, amplifying the pushing potential of the bear as well as the Leshrac. So I'm liking Dignitas' lineup, but it is a bit desperate because it's pretty much signaling, alright, we're going to push, and if it doesn't work out, then, well, I guess we're screwed. But it is a decent lineup to push in, since Alliance don't really have that much AoE to confront it. I mean, a really smart ban was the Keeper of the Light, as Windrunner, not really the best anti-pusher. Power Shot sure is good, but, I mean, it only hits in a line, and Wrath of Nature is pretty strong as well, but has a much longer cooldown in comparison. So we're gonna have to see if Alliance pick up a turtling support, whether it be something like a Jakiro, or maybe they just don't really fear the pushing potential of Dignitas, and they're gonna pick up the Chen. So they want to have a bit of early game healing potential on their side, as well as having some own counter pushing in the early stages of the game. Try to get map control on their side, saying, alright, Dignitas, push down one of our towers, we're gonna immediately try to push down one of yours, and we're going to have to see if you can respond to it, because Dignitas themselves don't have that much long-range AoE to really nuke down the creep wave. So Dignitas, right now they have their dual supports. This could potentially be a safe lane Juggernaut. It could also be a mid-solo Juggernaut. So Dignitas might potentially pick up their mid-solo. They could potentially also pick up their safe lane carry. I mean, it's very difficult to say with this Juggernaut choice. I mean, teams run Juggernaut in a multitude of different ways. They run him in tri-lanes, they run him in off lanes, they run him in mid-solos. as Alliance is going to be at the Dragon Knight, so they want to get rid of that very tanky pushing power, as Dignitas is going to be at the Queen of Pain, recognizing that Alliance definitely need their own mid-soul, even if their mid-soul is a bit cleverly disguised. But yeah, if Alliance want a mid, then Puck is definitely a solid option. I mean, Puck doesn't do as well up against this sort of face rush strategy, even though that will clump up and Dreamcoil will do quite a bit, just because Puck might be in danger if he's surrounded by 5 heroes consistently. But Puck can still do very, very well up against the line that Dignitas currently has, and also his AoE is quite powerful for a mid laner, and he could potentially nuke down the creep waves very, very quickly if Alliance give him the opportunity to do just that. So we'll see what Dignitas decides to go for, as the next choice will let me know if Juggernaut is actually going to run mid or if he's going to run safe lane. Keep in mind, Dignitas could potentially run aggressive Trilane. I mean, Leshrac, Rubik, Juggernaut is an unlikely trying to be run on the offensive, but it could potentially be done. Although, up against a Lifesteal, it's not going to be that likely, and Leshrac really wants to get the push going. It's a lot easier to push a defensive Trilane than it is to push an offensive Trilane, just because you're facing less heroes in general. And also, keep in mind, Windrunner is an offlane hero. Well, Windrunner won't be an offlane, so that's not going to matter regardless. She's going to be smart. I was going to say, if Windrunner is an offlane hero, doesn't get that much experience because she can't retreat to the jungle, but if Dignitas were to push very early on, then Windrunner would get some semblance of experience, but that's not going to matter. Alliance, when they pick up the Windrunner with the Nature Swap, they always play the Windrunner as support, as Dignitas going to get themselves a TA, so they have a mid-soul hero. I think this was just to give them a bit more mid-game DPS, as well as perhaps counter a Puck pick in advance, but I don't know. It remains to see how effective this hero will actually be played, as Alliance get themselves a Clockwork Goblin. And Admiral Bulldog usually plays the Clockwork, but in this game, I'm going to be inclined to believe that this will be a mid-lane Clockwork who gets a lot of ults and tries to max that Rocket Flare to make Dignitas' pushing strategy a lot less effective. So some really, really oddball picks from both teams, as we don't usually see as far playing the Clockwork. I've seen it once or twice, and meanwhile, fucking Warren, what a guy. Stupid Warren. I mean, he doesn't have one arm. He's just sitting around with both arms. Meanwhile, I'm doing my best to cast with one arm, and he's making fun of me. Life is hard, guys. Anyways, gonna introduce the players and the teams very, very soon, as I guess I can go over Alliance. Loda is going to be playing the Leicester, Admiral Bulldog will be playing Nature's Swap, EGM is going to be playing the Windrunner as support, Ake will be playing the Chen as support, and S4 is going to be taking care of the Clockwork in the middle lane. Meanwhile, on the side of Dignitas, we are going to have Way Too Sexy taking care of the Leshrac. Fogged is going to be playing the Rubik, AUI 2000 is playing the Lone Druid, Universe is playing the Juggernaut, and Snaking is playing the other hero, which is God. Oh man, I forgot who the last hero on the side of Dignitas was. Well, we're gonna find out very, very soon, as my short-term memory obviously needs some form of adjusting. But yeah, Universe, is he going to be an aggressive Tron with Leshrac and Rubik? It's a bit debatable at this point. Again, when Dignitas run their Lone Druid, they like to put in the offlane, but I have not seen them run Lone Druid in the offlane, or haven't seen them play Lone Druid ever since the patch came about. So I don't know if they've adjusted their strategy. And Windrunner and Chen can harass down the bear pretty effectively as far as heroes can go, and if the bear gets in range for an open wounds, then the bear could potentially take a lot of edge, and giving up a 300 gold bounty is definitely not something that Dignitas wants to do right off the bat. So I think this will probably be, I don't know, it's hard to say what this bear will do. I guess he can go into the offlane because Chen is not really the most intimidating lane presence, because he is going to be the jungle, and Windrunner herself doesn't really contribute that much in terms of damage outside of her physical attacks, as well as a... Oh, Bruno. Dang. Those callouts to snaking. But yeah, Lone Druid, I guess the only thing he has to really be careful of the offlane is going to be the Leicester, and once Aki does rotate himself out, then it is going to be a bit annoying for AY to deal with. I don't know, I can't honestly say what AUI should actually do in this case. As a max, or a mass conversation breaking out about the bowel movements of snaking. I'm sure he's greatly appreciating this. Snaking, running away. Damn. Calling sweet and shitty ass. Fucking Mike. Meanwhile, I expect very standard lanes being concocted by Alliance. They have a Chen in the jungle. This will be a defensive trial line with S4 in the middle, as the king has now returned, and that means to slow down the game. But we're gonna have to see what items the heroes on the side of Alliance start with. If Aki picks up a very early smoker seat, Winter is not the best ganking smoke partner, but up against a TA who doesn't really have that much mobility in the early game, nor does she have that much range, that early smoke could potentially do a lot of work. As the treants are going to be summoned, and it looks like Aki just going to pick up the very standard Chen items, picks up an early game smoke, so he does have the potential to rotate himself in, but I expect him to sit in jungle for quite a bit and only start pushing once Dignitas has their own inclination to push on the opposite side of the map, as Dignitas is actually going to smoke up, and this is actually a lineup that could potentially rush level 1, which is why Alliance going to immediately make their way there. Interesting choice that S4 did not pick up Rocket at level 1, because if Dignitas actually did the TP level 1 rush strategy, they might be going to work, but here comes the engagement as both teams jostling around for position, and S4 immediately drops a cog saying, alright, you will not pass, everybody. You are not going to get past us, and Alliance immediately going to retreat. They recognize no nature creeps have spawned, and they know Nature's Prophet is now the best level 1 hero. They would have definitely lost level 1 engaging up against the likes of Juggernaut, as well as Leshrac and the Bear.
30 seconds to battle.
So the Bear, it is going to be in the offlane position by itself, and it's going to try to cut off the creep wave, but AUI is going to be very careful with the micro, because again, he doesn't want to give up 300 gold to a support so very early on. That will mean a free flying courier upgrade and getting your way close to a set of observer wards or a smoke in a seat. So you guys gonna have to be exceptionally careful with this Bear if he does want to get the pulls off. But if the first two pulls are not successful, look for AUI to just retreat into the jungle, call it a day. And you can see AUI has actually saved up a bit of gold, so he could potentially amplify his jungle a bit faster if he does manage to get up a couple creeps at the very least. He could find his way to get himself maybe a Gloves of Haste or a Quelling Bite, but no, AUI looks like he's just gonna immediately turn around and go to the jungle. Well, he's still harnessing the power of the Bear, trying to get the second creep wave pulled off rather than the first. You know, Admiral Bulldog doing a similar thing, but the Nature's Prophet Treant's a lot more extendable, and also very tanky, but way too sexy. We'll be able to isolate it, and we'll be able to kill it off, but Nature's Prophet, just checking out his items, has some clarities as a Ring of Protection. Not really the best jungling build, he didn't get anything like a straight Ring of Basilisk, he doesn't have too many clarities to work with, but it should be enough to hold him over if he does need to go into the jungle. You know, Universe in the Trial will be jungling it up with the Juggernaut, and S4 versus TA. I think this favors TA ever so slightly because Clockwork, the only way you can really break Refraction is by getting a lot of levels into Battery Assault, but I think against Slime Dignitas has, you might want to max Rocket Flare for the lower cooldown as well as increased damage. So I think S4 will look to max the Rocket Flare, and he won't be able to do that much in terms of driving the TA off the lane. But so far, mana bringing the TA is definitely a strong way to deal with the TA at this very early stage, since TA is quite mana starved, but she is rushing the bottle and she will have it up relatively soon. I mean, there's really not too much Clockwork can do to drive her out of the lane, unless he does max the Battery Assault with his first ability. You know, Dignitas, seems like they want to get the creeps pushed ASAP. They're not deciding to pull. I guess this camp was already pulled, and maybe out Bulldog blocked the other camp with the Treants. But you can see the creep wave starting to get pushed in. That means Bulldog will get a decent amount of experience. I don't know if Dignitas are quite ready to get the pull or get the tower push going, since they don't have any points into Edict. And you can see Bulldog's Treants just doing a huge job in terms of harassing. They might be able to block the spawn yet again. Another splitter will be used just to try to save the pull, but we'll see if Fogged is in range. Now the pull is going to successfully be saved, but all the while Bulldog will pick up a nice and easy level 2. So very nicely done by Bulldog, and this is why him on these micro-dependent heroes in the offlane is so annoying for an opposing team to deal with. Now S4 sort of forced to go for the runes. Actually is keeping up with Snaking in terms of last hits, but as Snaking levels up, he will have more instances of refraction to last hit and deny with a bit more easily. So I expect as this lane gets more and more on top of levels, then Snaking should pull farther and farther ahead. Meanwhile, Loda, it seems like he is going to save up for the traditional Midas build he likes to go on Lifestealer. And we'll try to pick it up ASAP since I don't think he really needs to push. I think he only wants to push once Dignitas starts their own push. And Loda is saving up 1k golden bank, so it seems like he will go for that quick Midas rush. As you can see, AY with the extra bit of gold did buy a Coiling Blade for that bear, since he saved up a bit of gold in the offlane position. You know, S4 actually zoning out Snaking a bit more effectively than I anticipated. That ball card nerf definitely hurting Snaking quite a bit, and S4 could potentially come in. Snaking is out of mana, so doesn't have any points in refraction. Now, there's nothing like a magic wand to get his HP back online. But S4 just choosing to be safe rather than sorry, just gonna salve up and then maybe go in with the invisibility rune. Although he doesn't really need to use that much mana at this stage. You can see that he's trying to constantly maneuver himself in place for either a Cogs or a battery assault, but Snaking's positioning just a bit too good at this point. But still, S4 has done a nice job recovering himself in the lane. And I guess Clockwork is doing a bit better than I expected. The mana burn is just really giving TS a huge amount of problems at this stage. Meanwhile, the creep's always getting pushed in S4's favor because he's constantly spamming the rockets, so that means the runes will definitely be freed up. And we're going to have to see if Dignitas' supports can adequately protect the rune if it does spawn in the top lane. Meanwhile, I like what Alliance are doing. They're only just going to farm with the Chen, they're going to farm with the Windrunner as well. So these supports will get a bit more experience compared to Dignitas supports since they will be jungling together, whereas these two supports are going to be jungling separately. But Snaking going to finally catch a great break, will finally pick up a rune, so that means he will be able to stay in lane a bit longer and try to get himself back in terms of CS contention. You can see, despite being beaten a little bit, Snaking is still very much even in terms of creep. This looks like Aki is going to channel his inner way too sexy. He picks up a Heartbeast Stormcrafter, just going for a bit of harassment. And meanwhile, S4 just going to mana burn Snaking into oblivion, and this is just so annoying for TA to deal with. Meanwhile, Loda has the Midas, he has not picked it up. Wasting like 10 seconds, not the biggest deal, as Bulldog could potentially be in launch hall. Will be teleporting out of there, as yes, there is a telekinesis. Dignitas went the long way around, but it was very much worth it. They will be able to kill off Bulldog, and you can see immediately, well, I thought immediately Alliance would respond by trying to push out the lane. You can see Loda is actually auto-attacking the creep wave a bit harder, and there is a sizable creep wave coming into Dignitas' tower range, but I don't think Alliance will be able to kill the tower immediately. They do get a strong pushing creep because this creep does give you a nice armor aura, but seems like Dignitas, they're going to back off their pushing pressure for now, and Alliance, they're going to do the same. They're just going to farm off their supports, and, you know, Loda will take a bit of tower damage, but he's not giving up anything to the off-lane here on the opposite side of the map. You know, both heroes bottle crowing in the middle lane, and Snaking going to give up his bottle, and that bottle going to slow down the courier by quite a decent amount. Very, very annoying for the mid heroes to deal with, but very well deserved, as now the offlane heroes can't bottle up as easily. And VV is the call. I guess Aki denied everyone with the Chen, I don't know. Or maybe he denied a trap. But now the trap will be sprung, and Snaking is going to get himself a double dungeon, but he doesn't have the bottle. But at the very least, he will be able to go back to the mid lane, doesn't have to use refraction and get last hits anymore. So S4 has been able to pull ahead in terms of the CS just because of his cheaper abilities in terms of mana. And Clockwork has a bit more reliable base mana pool. His spells cost a little less in terms of mana. You know, Snaking, I mean, won't obviously pop him out for CS, but refraction is very much a necessity. As Way Too Sexy gonna come in, has Split Earth, as here comes the traps. S4 gonna be a lot of trouble. S4 will take a damage right to the face, but Snaking didn't get off the melt hit. S4 should nonetheless be picked off. So a nice gank by Way Too Sexy, a solo gank. So that means that it's going to be a great boost in terms of experience for both the mid laner as well as the ganking support. Meanwhile, Fogged going to ward off this rune ward as well as ward off any potential ganks coming in from this angle to try to pick off the top lane. And meanwhile, Universe going to go to work on the top tower as Bulldog has not retreated. He went to the middle lane to try to pick up some safer experience. He has now finished the ring below, so if he's forced to jungle, he can do just that. But I expect Admiral Bulldog to go for the traditional Midas build and try to get his experience back, because Midas does do quite a decent job in terms of recovering your experience if you are behind.
Bottom tower is under attack.
And meanwhile, you can see Online's immediately responding by concocting a push themselves. They have the Siege Wagon, and the Chen creeps will come around from behind. Way too sexy. He's level 5. He's pretty high level for a Light Track, 7.5 minutes in the game, but he's just simply not going to be enough. He doesn't have any points of lightning, so his other abilities are quite short in terms of its range. And Loda will be able to kill off this tower, and you can see with the Midas, as well as the Phase Boots, Loda is already level 8, and this tower is going to get immediately pressured. I'm not too sure if Dignitas can actually defend it with their current heroes. All they can really defend it is with the Fade Bolt in order to sort of lessen the danger that the sports could potentially be in. You can see Dignitas, way too sexy, just running back and forth because he knows if he approaches, he will just get owned because his spells just have so little range. But Snaking, he's going to pop a trap. He is going to go in, as there will be rotation by Universe. Snaking 1 or 2 charges of Refraction will be burned. The Shackle Shot massively placed by EGM will hold Snaking in place for a bit, as Aki's taking a lot of Blade Fury damage. Loda, his rage is timing out. His Universe does pick up the last hit. And where did Loda go? Did he infest something?
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
No, I guess he got sent home by Chen. So a good recovery by Dignitas, as they did not take too much damage on this tier 2. But immediately EGM's going to respond, trying to boost up his level count on the top lane, and we'll be able to do that very successfully, as EGM has just become a master of shackle shots these days. Now Dignitas is going to rotate one of their supports mill to try to recover his experience. So I like both teams' movements quite a bit, but I'm a bit worried for Dignitas because they have not been able to push down the tower very early on. And I think overall, Alliance, they have heroes that scale well into all aspects of the game, I guess, except for the Chen. Meanwhile, Dignitas, they have heroes that scale well too, but I do favor a Nature Star Lifesteal combination a bit more than the Lone Druid Juggernaut combination, as S4 Gummy and Lato will be sliced and diced by the Omni Slash, but will inevitably die nonetheless. And we'll see if this does spark a push on the middle tower. Yes, Way Too Sexy is going to get in position, but the Raiden do have a flip, so I think this tower will be defended, as the Hellbear Smasher going to come in, going to cancel his attack animation, try and conserve its mana. So good micro by Ake, as he will be able to help protect the life of his tower without having to burn the glyph. So good defense being cocked by Alliance, as saving the glyph is very, very important, because if that glyph wasn't used, then Dignitas could have said, alright, we'll leave the mid tower alone for now, but we'll just rotate top, and then you won't have anything you can do to protect it since you don't have the glyph online. AUI has the Midas. See, he put it on the main hero rather than putting it on the Spirit Bear. Unfortunately, he's not getting much luck in terms of the creeps to get a big amount of experience. He obviously was waiting for a Centaur or a equivalently strong creep to try to get as much experience as possible. And the bear will rush it. Instead, he just decides, alright, might as well not waste too much time, just going to use it on a lane creep. And meanwhile, TA gets a double damage rune. And TA, it's going to be difficult for her to get some solo ganks off, just because Alliance have some mobility on their side, and their heroes have a lot of ways that can deal with TA. Clockwork has the Cogs, Lifestealer can infest, Windrunner can wind run away. I guess the only one who's going to be in a lot of trouble is Chen, but he's constantly surrounded by an army of creeps that he himself is difficult to bring down. University's finished up the drones, but there was going to be a gank, not even a smoking. S4 is just going to spot out AUI 2000 as the hookshot going to be cancelled, and the shackle shot will land on AUI. The Hellbear Smasher going to smash thing. My bear is better than yours. S4 taking a lot of damage, but still, they will get the kill on AUI. The trap will be sprung as Snaking going to teleport himself in, but the Chen creeps just going to drain away all their refraction charges. So a really, really strong gank being concocted by Alliance's Fog. Going to get the hook up onto Loda. And Loda is going to get killed off by the Wrath of Nature, and Snaking might be in a lot of trouble. One open wounds could be the death. The Shackle Shot just going to be barely dodged, as Alliance, their pushing capabilities just seems to be a bit stronger at this stage. And they should be able to muscle down this tier 1 tower, since again, Dignitas, they have some strong pushers, but they don't really have the strongest defenders on their side, unless they max the lightning.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
As we're trying to zone out Snaking as well as Way Too Sexy, we'll drop the cogs to delay the creep wave from coming in. And it seems like Alliance, they can't provide as much pressure as I thought, as this tower will be safe for now. But Snaking pretty much out of mana aside from some magic wand charges. And all the while Bulldog's farming up, he has his Midas finish, but Universe on the other hand is farming up as well, as EGM does have infested load inside him just to help him farm a bit easier, not for any infest bombs. And you can see good timing by EGM, as they want to make sure that Dignitas don't really know that infest was used. They want to make sure that they hide the cooldown of infest as long as possible, because infest has a long cooldown and is a very useful spell to go ganking with, but as long as Dignitas don't know when it's been used, they will always have the fear of infest put into their hearts. Because who knows, if somebody's AFK farming, if there's a ward that Dignitas have not scouted out, Bulldog could potentially teleport in and try to get an infest kill with Loda inside him. So a small play, but still a very smart play being used by Lance as Loda is going to make his way towards the drums. Universe already has the drums, going to go straight into a Yasha, as Universe probably recognizes he needs some damage, as Nature's Prophet will be able to pick up a kill on which he's sexy with the help of Clockwork, and now Snaking going to be in trouble. Open wounds will be used, and Snaking going to die for sure, as he will go invisible for now. But Battery Assault is coming back online relatively soon. We'll use the cogs to push Snaking away, but Snaking does manage to get a Refraction Charge out of there, but Snaking should die nonetheless. Yes, he will get picked off, and I think this should actually be a tier 1 since Aki is still up on the top lane. Actually, they're going to get the bear as well, and that is going to be a huge boost in terms of gold, as Clockwork managed to pick up the last hit, and that will give him either a point booster or help him build up towards a pipe or a mecha. Looks like Aki is going to go for the mecha, but Clockwork going to receive a much needed gold bounty. Will he get the arcane boots? No, he already has his strength treads. But still, a huge loss being
top tower is
sort of given up to Alliance in that engagement. They gave up their mid hero, they gave up the Leshak, and they gave up the bear, which is 300 gold. So all things considered, Dignitas just lost around 600 gold just from that one minor engagement. And yeah, loaded teleport, so they managed to recoup some of those costs, but Dignitas weren't able to apply that much pressure in exchange.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, Universe still farming up. I think Juggernaut should try to get himself into more fights, but it is a bit difficult since Juggernaut doesn't have the highest mobility. But May senses that Lance are putting a lot of pressure on the top lane. He is going to try to teleport himself up there to at least alleviate some of the pressure by pushing down this tier 1 tower. And Alliance, instead of pushing down the tier 1 top, they actually backed up to try to fortify the experience growth. They still know they have the tower advantage at this stage. So it's on Dignitas to make something happen, as the bear is going to go to work. This tower should die, as Dignitas will face a glyph. But I think this tower, yeah, it is definitely going to die. The question is if there will be initiation. S4 going to barely with the hook. I think it's just out of range. And you can see Bulldog immediately canceling the teleport since S4 could not latch in with the hook. So a good engagement being won by Dignitas. They managed to finally take down tower. But all the while, Bulldog and Lifestealer, well, Bulldog at the very least is farming up. And Ake is going to rotate in. He has a strong Nugan creep with some Centaurs, some very beefy creeps to get those stuns off. And keep in mind, the Centaurs also have that attack speed aura increase that helps pushing out so much. As Lance starting to get ready for their push. And this top tower actually below 1/3 HP, so it's very easy to take down at this stage. But I like what Dignitas are doing. They recognize the bear is a very strong tank at this point in the game. They need to heal up, so might as well use the healing ward since you can pretty much use it whenever you want. Meanwhile, Universe actually going to go for a Diffusal Blade. Interesting decision, as I don't know why he's going to go for a Diffusal Blade. There isn't really... I guess he can purge the Lifestealer after Rage ends, and Lifestealer will be immobilized. And you can purge the Windrun. I'm pretty sure you can purge... Yeah, you can definitely purge Windrun. Maybe that's why they picked it up, so they can kill off the Windrunner. And also in terms of chasing, it's going to be very useful. But other than that, there's no real great targets to purge other than to just slow people down. Meanwhile, Dignitas is going to start split pushing on the bottom lane. They're not going to reveal themselves just yet, as Loda has a double danger, and Dignitas, they do recognize that the ward was there as Way Too Sexy will be able to dodge just out of range. The Treant's going to be summoned as Way Too Sexy. I don't know why he's not teleporting out. Why are you teleporting out, Way Too? Well, he's just going to forfeit his life. Maybe, oh, he was just buying time for Dignitas to respond in the mid lane, as EGM's going to take a lot of damage, but EGM's so tanky. Windrunner very survivable, as Lone Druid does pick up the tower, but now AI going to be launched. He's got to hope for a bear bash or an entangle, but Loda is going to run away. The Rage has now charged down. Snaking is actually returning a lot of damage in exchange. Meanwhile, Juggernaut trying to escape, trying to catch off EGM, but EGM is just surviving for so long. The Omni Slash, oh my god, it's so unfortunate for Universe. Only one bounce of Omni Slash managed to hit the Windrunner. And now Snaking will just be able to escape the wrath of the Sprout from the Nature's Prophet. So, a very, very weird engagement, but if Lance can take down the middle tier 1 in exchange, it'll definitely favor them in the end. And I don't know if Dignitas have what it takes to defend this tier 1. They have the glyph, but their heroes are simply not in position. AUI is farming up on the top lane. And Juggernaut's dead. And without the healing ward, the defense will just be a lot more difficult for Dignitas. So, with tower being taken, I think Alliance in the last couple minutes have taken a pretty significant advantage.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Especially since they have 2 minuses. I mean, not especially, but also due to the fact they have 2 minuses. Meanwhile, Dignitas only have 1 minus. So in the grand scheme of things, Alliance will creep slowly more and more ahead in terms of experience. The goal graph is even, but Alliance, you can see, are taking a pretty, a reasonably sized experience advantage. Not the biggest deal, but it's still good to have that experience advantage nonetheless. But it's nice to see that all sports are pretty leveled up at this stage in the game rather than one sport being at like level 3 17 minutes in. You know, AUI's gonna save it for the Radiance. That Radiance, it's not gonna be able to cancel some daggers, but still having that damage, I mean 50 damage per second is no joke on a bear. And if worse comes worse, Dignitas could potentially just safely split push with the bear if they really need to, so Radiance is still a very viable choice. You know, Alliance gonna start pressuring the top lane. Dignitas gonna smoke themselves into Roshan. They will get a melt strike, as I think the rocket was used. And Alliance, they might suspect something's going on, since Dignitas are not defending the top tower. And yes, indeed, you can see Alliance gonna immediately scout with the creeps. But the minus armor of the TA as well as the healer are gonna help out Dignitas by a tremendous degree. Can they actually kill Roshan fast enough? Fog gonna most certainly have to give up his life, as Wei T6 is gonna try to teleport out of there. He's gonna immediately get it cancelled, as Templar Assassin does get himself an HC Moro. Lundred gonna pick up the edge, and as here comes the Clockwork, gonna hook in. Universe gonna be launched. Juggernaut was able to end the life of Nature's Father. The Harpy Stormcrafter did a lot of damage with his chain lightnings. Universe was the next one on the side of Dignitas to die, as now Lola will try to pursue down Snaking. Snaking gonna die as well. And AUI might have to give up his bear. He's gonna go to work with his human, trying to do the double edge, but Snaking just gonna get bursted down. Now AUI will get killed off as well. There's gonna be a shadow shot. I'm a bit surprised Alliance are just killing off the bear, trying to get that damage, or trying to get that extra goal before they killed off the hero, but still a huge engagement being won by the side of Alliance. And I mean, I was gonna say that Roshan attempt might not have been too obvious since that tower on the top one is pretty low in terms of HP, but still, it's always dangerous going for a Roshan engagement up against a Clockwork and a Shen who can scout Roshan so very easily, and we can teleport in with the Nature's Prophet and just hook in with the Clockwork. You have so many ways to reach Roshan very quickly, and with that defeat, Dignitas are now in a huge deficit.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Taking a look at the goal graph, it's going to surpass around 6k. Experience graph going to reach the same levels for Alliance, as S4 going to get himself infested by Loda. Loda has finished the armlet, so now he's pretty difficult to bring down, has that armor as well as extra HP to work with. EGM going to get himself the 4 staff. Ake has the mechanism, but is completely out of mana since he used pretty much all of his mana in the last team fight. And EGM just going to help Ake out by popping those mana boots whenever possible. Meanwhile, S4 just trying to go in for an engagement will be ushered away by Dignitas. Dignitas still keeping up their wards across the map, but you can see their map presence has been severely limited. Alliance just starting to pincer Dignitas as University's finished the Defeasible Blade, but is that going to be enough? I'm not too sure. But Way 2 going to provide a lot of pressure towards the spawn tower. I think Dignitas should be able to take down this tower with the help of Edict, and Alliance don't have the glyph online, so we'll see if Alliance can go for a sufficient trade. And Snaking is able to secure himself the last hit, and Snaking, not too sure what he's going to go for. I think he's going straight BKB, even up against Clockwork, is still the optimal choice up against Windrunner, as well as the Lightstealer. Those open wounds do slow. So, yeah, I think this should be a BK for the TA. I mean, if he had the Aegis, it might have been a Desolator, but I think right now it should be a BKB, as Meow Universe is going to get caught in by a hook. Did not see how that happened. I'm just going to guess it was a hook into infest into death for Universe's EGM. Going to get himself lifted, but the stun just not quite there. I guess Way 2 was just a bit out of range. But Alliance is going to trade a tier 2 for the tier 1 in the bottom lane, as Meow Snaking trying to provide as much pressure as possible with Dignitas. Their front door is being knocked upon in the middle lane, and we'll see if they can actually muster up defense. AUI still farming up. Does he have the Radiance finished? He has the Relic finished. And he's getting close to the Radiance, but still, it's not going to come soon enough for AUI's liking. This tower is taking a lot of damage. The glyph will be coming back online relatively soon, but you can see Fog, just forced to go back to base, is going to pop Rage just to save himself, as this Harpy Stormcrafter is going to go in to try to end Fog's life. Ake no was the cry by Fogged, as that Stormcrafter is going to crack a heck of a storm in Fog's face. It seems like Dignitas are able to repel the push for now, but they took so much damage on their tier 3 mate that one more push will be the end of it. But at the very least, that did buy enough time for AY to finish the Reigns. We'll see that's going to be enough, but there is a lot of heal potential on side Alliance that the Reigns damage might simply not matter. But Alliance, they see the Reigns, they know the push has just gotten a lot harder. They're going to back off now. For now, they're going to regroup, and meanwhile, TA was able to muscle down this tier 2, so in the end, a pretty solid trade for Dignitas. They lost to a tier 2 middle, and they got 2 towers in exchange on the bottom lane, but they took so much damage on the tier 3 that the trade might be called even in the grand scheme of things. You know, Clockwork going to drop a zoning cogs. I think this ward might have spied out the smoke, and that's why Alliance is just backing up so very heavily. And S4 recognizes that if he gets into a bit of a bind, he can hook out to an ally, or even force step himself away from the cogs if he is in that difficult position. But Way 2 Sex is going to reveal the smoke. Here comes the hook in as the bear, as well as Way 2 will be caught. Way 2 most certainly going to die, and we'll see if the bear can't get enough damage. He does get first hit root on S4. The Omni Slash is going to bounce, but it's not going to bounce enough. The Hand of God does fly in to help preserve S4's life, but he's going to get melted down by a meld. Loda's going to take a lot of damage, but Loda, it looks like he is going to be sent home. Ake will be on the tree. Ake will definitely die. He's going to pop the Ghost Scepter to delay the push for now, but Universe has the Fuse Blade, but instead of using that Purge charge, we'll just wait for the Ghost Scepter to run out, and Ake will eventually get picked off. So a good recovery for Dignitas. They managed to get 2 hero kills, and in exchange for a Leshrac, so that smoke gank was very much worth it. But this tier 3 is going to be threatened. You can see an immediate response by Snaking. We'll try to protect this tier 3 for as long as possible, as Snaking has now finished the BKB, so it is going to be a bit more annoying to deal with in team fights. You know, Fogged trying to work his way towards either a Force Staff or a Dagger. I mean, what's the best spell that Fog could potentially steal? Maybe Shackle Shot? That could be a really valuable spell to steal for Fogged.
Illusion.
Way 2 trying to get as tanky as possible. Is level 10, a pretty solid level for Leshrac, considering, you know, how badly he's fared in this game in terms of deaths, but he doesn't have any items to boost up his HP, and he's just paper thin towards the great damaging forces of Alliance. You know, Loda picked up a Sange, so this could potentially be a Halberd, but it'll most likely be an SNY to increase his chasing capability. But here comes the teleport. Way 2. Oh my god, Bulldog with the Shadow Blade. Just gonna completely obliterate Way 2. And Loda comes in to secure himself the last hit, but Bulldog gonna more than happy to snatch it up for himself. And that is gonna allow Bulldog to finish his Hex. And even though Templar Assassin does have the BKB, nobody else inside Dignitas anywhere close to building Hex. Yeah, I mean, Jarna has pretty much a BKB because so many of his spells render him magic immune, whether it be Omni Slash or Blade Fury. But still, the other heroes on the side, Dignitas will take quite a bit of damage from the Hex. As there will be yet another teleport by Bulldog. He's trying to get something happening. He couldn't teleport in with Leicester since Infest was on clone, but AY gonna be trapped in the Sprout. Looks like Alliance won't be able to follow up with the Shadow Spot. Here comes the Hex into Hookshot. S4 gonna get a phenomenal hook, and they will be able to kill off AUI in a matter of instants. And with AUI being dead, I think this will start the push on the middle lane, and AUI, unfortunately for him, cannot buy back. So looks like Dignitas will be without a bear in this upcoming mid lane engagement. I don't know if they'll be able to defend the barracks. They will certainly not be able to defend their tier 3 in the middle lane. But Dignitas, they're going to have to try, because if they lose this barracks, it's going to be so hard to come back against a Nature Survivor, especially a Nature Survivor like Bulldog, who's gotten so much farm and has been able to get a pretty solid score on it. Dignitas, it seems like they're going to have to give up the middle barracks. They don't want to, but they might not have a choice. Looks like the Fate Bolt with the Blade Fury are going to do a lot of damage, but Universe could potentially be in a lot of trouble. He does manage to escape, and Snake is going to get hexed up. He can't pop the BKB just yet. He's going to take so much damage. He's going to pop the BKB, but he took way too much damage in the span. He's going to buy back, but now he's going to be fighting without the BKB. A huge Shadow Shot going to latch on the Fogged, as well as Way Too Sexy. And it seems like Alliance is starting to overrun Dignitas. The Baron is going to finally respawn. He's starting to go in. The Pump Slash doing a lot of damage to Loda. Loda will be held in place. It seems like Loda will get picked off in the end. And S4, can he retreat? He does have the Sword Staff. The trap will sell on S4. And he's going to Force Staff him away to safety. One hit. Will there be entangled? No, unfortunately for Dignitas, there won't be. A good fight being taken by Alliance, as they did force it back from Snaking. They burned the 10-second BKB charge at the cost of a Loda, and they managed to get tier 3, so overall, Alliance definitely won the engagement, but it wasn't the biggest loss for Dignitas. because keep in mind they fought the majority of the engage without the bear, but now as for if he hooks in once more and they've killed off the bear again, that might be the turning point for Alliance. You can see Bulldog going to teleport himself out. He's going to look for a Hex and then look for an S4 to initiate with the hook shot. And here comes the hook shot, just going to perfectly split the D. AUI is going to get shackled, he's going to get Hex, he's going to get absolutely demolished. Really, really strong global ganking effort being put together by Alliance. And that'll eliminate Bear from the picture for another 50 seconds. And Roshan is going to be spawning relatively soon, so Alliance, they're not even going to pressure the tier 3. They're just going to push out the waves and try to get themselves into position to kill off the Roshan. Well, it seems like they are pressing the tier 3. I don't think they're going to devote themselves fully, since Loda is not really nearby whatsoever. You know, Dignitas, have they been able to pick up any significant items? Universe trying to go for that Aghanim Scepter, as the tier 3 base has been breached once again. The Racks are going to be alive for now. Dignitas, Lifestealer, I just heard him. Looks like he actually got himself back in the picture. I don't know exactly how he did that. Maybe Bulldog teleported in with an Infest. But Bulldog was able to kill off way too sexy, and the Bale Barracks are going to fall. Really, really strong ganking by Alliance managed to help set up this barracks breach. And now Alliance is going to take a huge advantage. They have one barracks advantage up against a Nature's Prophet, and that just makes pushing so much more difficult because every time Dignitas want to mount a push of their own, Bulldog will just be there pushing out all of the lanes. And Alliance is going to back off. It looks like they have intentions of re-engaging. They're not even bothering to smoke up. It seems like they don't really want to take Roshan just yet. Instead, they want to put on the pressure and look to end the game. Any major items being picked up on Dignitas snaking, since he was forced to buy back, is going to be quite gold-starred, but he is going to get himself Crystallis. You know, AUI, he got himself picked off a little bit too much because of those really nice ganks, and his farm has been severely delayed. Meanwhile, Alliance is going to make the smart move. They're going to attempt to go for Roshan, although they're not going to commit themselves fully. You can see the golden experience graph starting to reach those very, very difficult to overcome levels, as the Rocket will spot out Dignitas, but Dignitas themselves are smoked up. And we'll see Chen going to run right by a Central Ward, so Dignitas are very well acquainted with Alliance's movements, but can they actually engage into Roshan? They're going to have to, because going up against an Aegis as well as the Nature's Prophet is just going to be way too difficult for Dignitas to overcome the smoke. It's about to break, and that is going to spark Dignitas' approach. The Blade Fairy will be the initiation, and Snake going to run in with that BKB. Universe taking way too much damage. Can't even get the Omni Slash off as he just absolutely melts the Lotus right click damage. Snaking going to be the next one to fall, as Lotus just putting in way too much work. And AY is going to die once again. I think this is going to be the end for Dignitas, as there is a GG well played being called by Dignitas in the end. So very nicely played by Alliance, just with some really, really sensational play overall. I mean, I don't really know if this is an outpick. I felt like Dignitas' picks were good enough, but I think Alliance just showed why they are probably the best team in the West and one of the best teams in the world in this turn. And now they're going to face Quantic in the Grand Finals. As one more series left, guys, almost at the finish line. So hopefully you enjoyed this game. Dignitas gotta be feeling a bit disappointed, but still, they put up a hell of a fight. But now, we'll see if Quantic has some better luck going up against Alliance in the Grand Finals. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.